And now to our second leading story, we head to South Sudan, where the U.S. has called its ambassador of South Sudan back to Washington for consultations as the U.S. reevaluates its relationship with the country after a delay in implementing a fragile peace deal. Ambassador Thomas Hushek was recalled Monday in what is widely viewed as a signal of Washington's displeasure over South Sudan's failure to meet an extended deadline for forming a unity government, a critical component of a peace deal aimed at ending a bloody 5-year civil war in the 8-year-old nation, Ruth.
Indeed, Nyasha, the South Sudan President Salva Kiir and rebel leader Riek Machar had until November 12 to dissolve their differences and to form this unity government to prevent this young independent state from relapsing into major conflict. But they failed to set a new deadline for 100 days to achieve this. And this new deadline is not going well with the United States, which in turn recalled their ambassador, Thomas Hushek. So what are the immediate consequences of this stance taken by the Washington? We'll put this question to our expert of the day.
Exactly, Ruth. So now we have war studies expert and deputy director of the Enough Project, Brian Adeba, joining us on Skype from Washington, D.C. in the U.S. Good morning to you, Brian. Thank you for joining us. And it's clear that the U.S. is intensifying pressure in South Sudan, but how much can they achieve in the 100 days that they were not able to achieve in a year?
I think that's the key question right now. Obviously, the fact that the government of national unity was not formed is largely because of the lack of political will among the protagonists to get the peace agreement moved forward. Now you have 100 days to form the next government. And the question is whether this political will exists at this particular moment. We have heard the president say that he is committed to ensuring that the government of national unity is formed. We, however, think that given the history of non-compliance to the tenets of the agreement, that it is going to be very difficult to get these people to actually form the government of national unity on their own. What the international community needs to do right now is to ensure that within the 100 days, there are very clear benchmarks that need to be achieved at certain particular points or timeframes within the 100 days. Secondly, the international community has to embrace the use of coercive measures to hold the leaders in South Sudan accountable for implementing the peace agreement. These coercive measures should include also sanctions that are targeted at individuals that are peace spoilers, and we know there's a long list of them in this political makeup in South Sudan. Absent coercive measures and absent clear benchmarks, it is very unlikely that the government of national unity would be formed in February.
Well, in a recent State of the Nation address, President Kiir vowed to, quote-unquote, make peace work. And he has been accused on several occasions by the opposition of renegating on key terms of the peace agreement. To what extent is Juba responsible for the absence of a transitional government today?
If we look at the record of the government, which bears a whole lot more responsibility on ensuring that this peace agreement really moves forward, we see that it's a broken record. And the promises that the president made, while they are welcome, they also engender in people's minds a feeling of suspicion. Is this going to happen, given the past record? Our hope, of course, is that this has to happen and that the president matches words with actions. Whether on his own, that the president is willing and capable of ensuring that this peace agreement happens is a question that everyone keeps asking. And again, I come back to the point that unless the international community actually gets their act together and compels or says in no uncertain terms to the political leadership in South Sudan, that includes those in the armed opposition, that if you do not adhere to the terms of this agreement this time around, there are going to be consequences on you. Without that, I think that the possibility that we will see this government being formed in February is going to be a fleeting illusion, and that's something that we need to take into account as we evaluate the prospects of the formation of this government in 100 days.
So the 100-day extension that was given to form a transitional government will expire in February. So what can the international or perhaps the regional community do in the meantime to support South Sudan?
One of the things to do is to employ diplomacy as one track to send a very clear message through diplomatic channels that this peace agreement needs to be happening, and that the international community is willing to offer the kind of support required where necessary to ensure that the implementation of the agreement is on track. That includes facilitating the space for these individuals to meet, and ideally they should be meeting in the capital, Juba, to reassure everyone that they are serious about this peace agreement. IGAD has its own complications that have rendered Machar as a hostage, literally. Those restrictions on the movement of Machar need to be lifted.